Hello, and thank you for joining me today. My name is Dustin, and I am the Assistant Director of Admissions at the School of Global Policy and Strategy at the University of California in San Diego. I am presenting today to first talk a lot about kind of applying to graduate school in the United States more broadly, and then I will share some tips about applying and the application process, and talk a little bit about studying international affairs and public policy. And at the end, I'll talk a little bit about our school and some of the funding options available to applicants to our program. So an overview of studying for graduate school in the United States. There are about 3,000 four-year universities, and those are both public and private universities. Between all of those, there is a school and a degree to fit almost any interest or any area of study that you might be interested in. And these include certificate programs, which are often anywhere from only a couple of weeks to 1 year. There are master's degrees, which are typically 1 year or 2 years, and then PhD programs, which often are between 5 and 7 years, and then professional degrees, such as an MD or a JD degree, law school as well. So there are a lot of different options to consider. So if you are interested, for example, in international affairs, some students choose to study public policy. Some students even choose to go to law school or business school and study international business or international law. So there's a lot of different avenues to get to the career you might want. Programs, this is a little bit about what I talked on the last slide. And you can really, like I was saying, find a degree for almost any topic and a topic or interest. So if you are just starting the process of looking at grad school, I always recommend starting with these 5 questions. So the first question is, why do you want to go to graduate school right now? And the answer may just be very simple, that the job that you want requires a master's degree or a PhD in order to get the job that you want. For some people, maybe you just did not receive the type of training and skills that you want in your undergraduate, in your time during your undergraduate, and you want to now get these skills in order to transition your career. The next step would be, what do you want to study? So like I was saying before, some people want to study, if you're interested, for example, in international affairs, you can get multiple degrees to get to that point. So start looking at schools, look at the classes that are offered, look at the bios of professors and what are they researching within the school, and that might help you discover the type of degree that you are looking for. The next question is when. So if you are currently in school, do you want to wait for a year or two and work for a little while, or you want to just go straight to graduate school right after you graduate from undergrad? So start setting a timeline. And the reason this is important is most of the time you want to start preparing your application about 1 year before you want to go to school. If you are interested in applying for some scholarships and fellowships, you may even want to start earlier than 1 year. So figure out your timeline and then start looking at where. So start broad. Do you want to go to school in the United States? You want to stay here in Mexico or go to Europe? There's a lot of different regions in the world. If you choose to go to school in the US, do you want to be in a large city? Do you want to be in a smaller town? warmer climate, colder climate. Start narrowing down where you're looking. Do you want a large public university or a smaller private university? And the final question to ask yourself is how you're going to make this happen. How will you fund your education? Will you be applying for scholarships? How do you actually start gathering the materials to make your application to grad school? That last question, hopefully, I will help to answer during this presentation. So starting off, financing your education. Before you even apply to school or are admitted to a school, I would highly recommend visiting your EducationUSA office. I am currently here at the office in Mexico City, but there are also offices throughout Mexico at different university centers or in cities. And so find the closest EducationUSA center, look for events that they're hosting, meet with an advisor, start gathering resources on funding and on how you're going to, get the resources you need for your application and for your time in graduate school. Another thing to look into would be the Fulbright scholarship. The Fulbright Fellows program is one that you have to look at quite a little while before you apply to universities, because you have to first be accepted into the Fulbright program. But it is a great resource and a great program, so I would recommend looking into that. Look at local opportunities. If sometimes an employer will sponsor or pay for their employees to go to graduate school. We have many students from around the world who are attending and receiving their master's degree, and their government or their employer is paying for the degree. And also here in Mexico, for example, there are government resources such as CONACYT and FUNED that do have scholarship opportunities and options for you as well. After you're admitted to a university, you'll want to look into fellowships or merit scholarships. These are typically given by the university, and it is free money for you to attend their university. Another option is research assistantships or teaching assistantships. Universities will sometimes let you apply for these positions or offer these positions in advance of you arriving. Sometimes you'll have to wait until you actually do arrive at the university to apply for these positions. At many universities, they will cover part of your tuition in addition to paying you a salary. So it can be a great way to receive money towards your education while also gaining some valuable experience. So as you're looking into this, in order to really research your dream school or your dream schools, I would say start looking at the universities, find out what programs are offered there. Sometimes you can find you can look on websites and find larger listings of universities and programs, or you can go directly to the school's website. And I would advise you to go to the school's website, look through the faculty, look through their research, read the biographies that they have online of the faculty and the professors that are teaching there. Do they sound like people that you would like to learn from? Is their research something that's interesting to you? And if the answer is yes, then you can really see yourself at that school. Then I would say definitely apply there. But you may find that some of the, it may not be as good of a fit as you thought. So take the time and really research. Also look into what the student body is like. How many students are there? Do you want a big school or a small school? Are there a lot of opportunities to get involved with student groups and clubs? Do you see yourself being a student there? So what is needed to apply? This is really for most graduate programs in the United States. This is what you will need in order to apply. The first one is a standardized exam. So this is either the GRE or the GMAT for most graduate programs. Things like law school, medical school have special exams as well. GRE tends to be probably the most broad exam. The GMAT is more focused on business schools. I would advise you to take time, study for this test. There are books and there are apps for your phone. There are classes. Find something that fits in your schedule and study for this test. It can mean the difference between receiving a scholarship and not receiving a scholarship at the school you want to be at. So take the time, study for the test, and try to get the best score you can. There are practice tests out there so you can get an idea of how much time you should spend studying. The next will be a language test. Most universities accept the TOEFL exam or the IELTS exam. The TOEFL is more common, but the IELTS is also generally accepted. It is kind of the British version of the TOEFL exam, so it's often used by students coming from Europe. Transcripts, so you'll need your actual transcripts with a listing of the classes that you need, as well as the certificate saying that you have your degree, your diploma from the university. And you'll need letters of recommendation. So this will typically be 3 letters from professors, supervisors, managers, people that you've worked with, people that know you well that can write about your abilities and your skills in graduate school. You also need an essay or a personal statement, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a future slide. And you'll need a resume. So don't just include your actual jobs. I would advise you to, if you're a student, you're coming out of school now, include any clubs or student groups you belong to, any internships you completed, any work with professors you did. Really, this is your chance to write down all of your background and your experiences that you've had. Lastly, you've got your application fee and a school interview. Some schools will want to do an interview, usually on Skype or online, just to get to know you a little bit. And so check in with the school that you're applying to, though, to see exactly what you do need and what they require for the degree program you plan to apply for. So for the statement of purpose, some suggestions and tips that I have would be to take some time, read the instructions for the university that you are applying for. Each university might have slightly different requirements, and so know what is being asked. Make your essay unique for that university. Ask for feedback. So after you finish writing it, find a professor, an advisor, a friend. Take your essay to them. Ask them to read it, and not just for grammar and proper writing, but to see if after reading it, if they would want to admit you to their graduate program. So I also recommend do not just reuse the same essay for each university or school. This kind of goes back to making it unique, reading the question and making a separate essay for each university. Your statement of purpose should really tell your story. So it should be able to tell the reader where you're coming from, what your background is, how you kind of came to be where you are today, why you want to, why you're wanting to pursue this path. Also, what are you bringing to the university? A lot of people think of graduate school as sort of going there to learn something and gain something from the university. It's also important that you are bringing your unique experience, your unique background, the skills and knowledge that you have to the classroom. So tell the reader kind of what it is you're bringing. What is your story? What skills do you want to learn in this program? What do you want to gain? And then where do you want those skills and the degree to take you in your career? So this should really kind of tell a full picture of who you are and why you want to attend. This is your chance to really sell yourself to the university you're applying to really, as they're reading your essay, they should feel like you're the perfect fit for their school. And so that's why I really advise taking your time, on the essay portion of your application. So in looking at work experience, so some people want to, work for a couple of years before going to grad school. Other people are looking to go straight out of graduate school. So if you do have some work experience, you can talk about this in your resume and also in your statement of purpose. But what experiences through your work has led you to choose this degree path? Sometimes taking some time to work for a little while can enhance your career because you have that experience to bring to the classroom. Another question to ask yourself is, if you're debating whether to work or go to school, will taking a year or two to work make your graduate school application stronger? And will it also help you to gain a job after you graduate? There are some people, though, who finish their undergraduate, their 4 or 5 years in undergrad, and you really know exactly what you want to do, and you're ready just to go straight to grad school. We encourage people to get some work experience at our school, but I would encourage you to ask professionals in the field that you want to work in, as well as the schools you want to apply to, kind of what they would recommend, whether you gain some work experience or go straight to grad school. So what makes an application to grad school strong? And I think that this is kind of a short way of saying it, and that is to research and pay attention to the details that were earlier in this presentation will really help you to submit a strong application. Knowing about the program, knowing about the process, asking those questions is, everybody that I know who works in admissions at a university welcomes questions from prospective students. So you should always reach out, ask some questions if you have them, introduce yourself and your background, and really start building that relationship early on in the application process. And I think that will really, really help you have a stronger application. So just talking a little bit about the field of international affairs. It is a very broad field. So it's something that people who sometimes study in undergrad of international affairs take a number of paths afterward, from law school to business school to pursuing something like a Master of International Affairs. There are a number of careers in the field, anywhere from working for government in things like being in diplomatic areas or trade areas, economics, environmental policy, working on international development NGOs, consulting work, finance work. There are a number of different directions you can go with the degree program. A little bit about kind of the University of California broadly. It is one of the largest public university systems in the country, and we have 10 campuses with about 234,000 students. UC San Diego is one of those 10 campuses. We are a university that is known for the science, technology, engineering, and math fields. So as a school, we at the School of Global Policy and Strategy, we really emphasize a lot of those fields to build analytic and quantitative skills among our students. So a little bit about our program at UC San Diego. Our students in the International Affairs degree choose one region, and our school is really focused on Asia and the Americas. So you choose a region, and then you also choose one of the career tracks as well. So you can mix those to take, to customize the degree a bit. With the region, you are required to take or pass out or waive out of a language. So for example, if you are coming from a Spanish-speaking country like Mexico and you study Latin America, obviously you would not have to take Spanish, but you could, if you chose another region, you could take the language, or you could choose 2 regions and still take a language from that second region. We also have our Master of Public Policy. This degree program, the regional focus is optional, so it allows more flexibility to take policy classes and spend more time kind of in the policy area of your choice. And just to talk a little bit about some of our funding options at the School of Global Policy and Strategy for students coming from Mexico. We do have a partnership with CONACYT and FUNED. So we fund students with a minimum of 25% scholarship, and then CONACYT provides a scholarship of about 40% of your education, and then the remainder is in a loan from FUNED. So this is kind of a 3-way partnership that we work with these organizations to provide scholarships for a couple of students each year who are coming from Mexico. Not on here, but we also have a new option for students coming from Spanish-speaking countries. So if your native language is Spanish, the linguistics department at UC San Diego does provide or will be hiring generally 1 to 3 students from GPS as Spanish language teaching assistants. So you would be teaching undergraduate Spanish language classes. They would pay for a little over half of your tuition and pay for your medical insurance, and then also a salary averaging about $1,500 per month in exchange for you teaching Spanish. So it's a really great opportunity, and it's only open to, like I said, students coming from native Spanish-speaking countries. So this year we had some students receive that scholarship, and were able to then provide an additional merit fellowship from the school to help cover the difference. As a school, we provide scholarships as well to about 25% of our incoming students. And these range from about half tuition all the way to full tuition and fees. We also have at GPS the Center for U.S.-Mexican Studies. This is a policy research institute looking at U.S.-Mexico relationship. They look at everything from migration to trade and economic, political relations. And they also hire some of our students as research assistants. So it's a great opportunity if you want to do some research while you're a student to add to your resume and make some extra money as well. So that is the end of my presentation. I have our school's email and Facebook page, as well as my email on the screen now. So if you do have any questions that you think of later, please do follow up and let us know that you watched our presentation, and let us know if you have any questions or would like some additional information, and we are happy to help. Thank you.